In the world of Blue Eye Samurai, loyalty can become your deepest wound. Episode 7 reveals the undercurrents of power that shape destinies, even for those who seem far removed from conflict. After narrowly escaping death, Mizu and Taigen find themselves in that most dangerous of battlefields, the uneasy quiet after the storm. Relationships crack, loyalties splinter, and even those who fight for vengeance see their paths diverge. This is the Game of Thrones episode, and it's a masterclass in how conversation can be even more lethal than a duel. For an adult animation originally meant to be 10 episodes, Blue Eye Samurai is packing a shocking amount of intrigue into a shortened span. Let's unpack those shifting power plays, the secrets about to unravel, and those who are left holding broken blades, not just of steel, but of trust. Major spoilers from this point forward, you have been warned. The basic plot is as follows. Mizu and Taigen are in confinement at Swordfather Hut to heal after the dramatic closing elements of episode 6. Swordfather, I've missed you. Their relationship deepens after Taigen wakes up and they start to, bond. After Mizu gets a rise out of Taigen, she feels guilty and reveals both Fowler's plan and that Akemi is still alive. Taigen's pissed and rejects the broken blade and sets off to warn the Shogun of Fowler's plan and rescue Akemi. Mizu needs a blade but has to recenter herself. Swordfather refuses her. She tries to reforge it herself and comes to the realisation she cannot do things alone. She successfully then engages Ringo in some very sensual peaches out body art scenes and manages to successfully reforge the steel into a lump. She leaves it with Swordfather and leaves with Ringo for Edo. Fowler is on his way to Edo, getting involved in peculiarities at Madame Kaji's and other stops along the way. Again with the octopuses? Should that be octopi? Will you people leave our poor mollusk friends out of it, please? We also see a betrayal by Heiji, realising that with Fowler in charge, Japan will be truly ruined. We then get to see Fowler demonstrating the weapons against arrows. This has much more significance in episode 8, showing that he truly doesn't trust anyone either and tests them on convicts. He also kills the Shogun advisor Traitor, leaving Heiji in charge of the army. Meanwhile, in Edo, modern-day Tokyo, Akemi finds out that her soon-to-be new family has a matriarch of its own, and after some great development with Seki and Madame Kaji, learns to embrace her husband's weakness and perhaps carve out a place for herself. Unfortunately, after learning of Fowler's plan and taking it to her father, the poor prostitute who blabs gets launched off a building by Lord Daichi, and Akemi is imprisoned by her father. Well, the episode is called Nothing Broken, so let's talk themes. It's Mizu's Maker's Mark on the title card today, and it's probably the most boring colour being a neutral beige. However, Swordfather gets some cracking Swordmaster Yoda lines, and there's something about him losing his sight in a fire which has my spidey senses tingling. How does this tie into the title Nothing Broken? First, you've got the physical versus symbolic. On the surface, this may reference Mizu's damaged sword. However, the broken objects serve as potent metaphors for broken vows, fractured relationships, and even the breaking of characters under pressure. And whilst you could say that though Mizu's spirit is battered, it isn't until she begins again on her quest that she's able to reshape the steel, and then her refusal to fully reforge her blade until Fowler is dead reinforces the title's irony. She might be physically injured, her bonds with Taigen compromised, but her drive for vengeance is undeniably intact. Akemi's seemingly idyllic new life is a facade. Despite gaining more influence, just at the point she is able to directly exert some control over a weak and easily manipulated husband, her father's true colours crack the image of familial loyalty. Even her marriage isn't the nightmare she anticipated, yet it is built on lies and manipulation. However, I did feel the caged bird scene was a little on the nose, so had the writers had a couple of gin and tonics that day, especially when it's then shot down? But this was potentially 4 episodes crammed into 2, and I think the writers were doing the best with what they had. One of the themes is about agency and taking control. Until Mizu is able to fully give herself to the quest, she will continue to shatter, just like her sword. On to my favourite bit, characters, and villainous villains. Both Heiji and Fowler get a bit of development, with some of Fowler's quite tragic backstory revealed, and further moments for Heiji, who betrays Fowler and then gets to witness that betrayal come back to haunt him in all its bloody glory. As for Fowler, well, as if we didn't know, the guy's a psycho and a pervert, and I'll never look at this emoji quite the same way again. We also get further development. This is one man who plays to win and trusts nobody, made especially clear by his lying to what is supposed to be his most trusted advisor.
It'll be smuggled in on fishing boats in 2 days.
Clever.
Our army will take the castle.
The backstory is hideous and a callback to the human flesh bit from Peculiarities and Madame Kaji. He's been playing a very, very long game. And my favourite line?
Single meal. Since my mind didn't go to that bite, it was the last thing I ever did because I had to. I control my life now. Every bite.
So on to Taigen, as we witness a drastic shift in Mizu and Taigen's dynamic. Physical vulnerability sparks a tentative connection and suggestive tenderness, abruptly shattered by Mizu's revelations. We also see his guilt and shame at the bully he was manifest in the late night scenes in the village. This is not the same little boy acting out, and hints that his feelings for Mizu have evolved, as she gets that rise out of him. Poor Taigen, you miss Akemi. Yeah, right mate. But the revelation of Akemi's impending marriage and Fowler's imminent attack plunged Taigen into a moral crisis. Faced with the destruction of those he now cares for, his loyalty splits irrevocably. His rejection of Mizu's broken blade symbolises his departure from her path.
I'm going to Edo to warn the Shogun, and then I'm going to find you and kill you.
He leaves seeking his own justice, tempered by a desire for honour and that blasted internal moral code of his. Swordfather. Swordfather makes a welcome return, and with all of his usual fantastic smithing sword wisdom about artistry, we find out about his blindness from afar as well. It's also not once but twice he sets everyone straight about potential and possibilities, but especially poignant is his discussion with Ringo on abilities.
I want to be a samurai. I want to be great. Most people laugh when I tell them that.
Is it funny?
Samurai needs hands.
Do they? As a sword maker needs eyes.
There are so many great lines from Swordfather in this one, but this kind of sticks in my head.
There may be a demon in you, but there is more. If you do not invite the whole, the demon takes 2 chairs, and your art will suffer.
Mizu is broken down and perhaps remade in this episode. Her choice to live and rescue Taigen, living a more honourable way, showing through when she tells him that Akemi is still alive, even though she knows this will likely destroy the bonds being forged there. Her resilience becomes manifest as she is tormented by failure, but armed with newfound knowledge from Master Eiji. She confronts her broken weapon and grapples with the blacksmithing secrets needed to repair it. Interestingly, while she creates the meteorite or steel, she deliberately halts the forging process. This reveals a shift in her motivation. Vengeance against Fowler now transcends merely restoring her weapon, becoming an intensely personal battle. Her acceptance that she must begin anew, and her involving Ringo, shows how she has grown. Her final departure with Ringo solidifies this evolution. Their united journey to Edo promises violent confrontation. Meanwhile, Akemi's character explores confinement. I'm sorry, but I still don't like her. Trapped within the suffocating opulence and expectations of a marriage, she faces an equally ruthless opponent, her manipulative mother-in-law. And when she was rude to Seki, I rolled my eyes so hard. I'm going to be looking for my contact lenses for a week. She is still entitled and self-serving.
Save your worries, Seki. Sadly, I lack the courage. Go away. I don't need your advice on marriage or love or whatever you think you're an expert on today.
Yet Akemi demonstrates cunning and resourcefulness, understanding her husband's insecurities. She manipulates him for kindness and agency. Akemi's actions highlight her determination to carve a space for herself, even within the gilded cage of the shogunate. However, her use of Madame Cardi's attendants reveals a potential moral greyness emerging. She's not giving them their freedom just because. She's using them, realising that she'll need loyal allies to support her against the matriarch, women who know things. I honestly think she realises at that terrible dinner when she sees the walrus and even gives him a smirk. I think many mistake her offer as altruism, and it is not. Like everything about Akemi, it is self-serving. Hey, I said I didn't like her. I didn't say she wasn't smart. The death of Issy at Lord Daichi's hands unveils a shocking betrayal. Akemi's confinement then, rather than figurative, becomes literal, emphasising the escalating danger she faces. My favourite line?
But it seems I've decided what I want for my fucking self.
Madame Kaji and Seki. Both of these characters offer Mizu great advice in their own ways, with Madame Kaji's best line being this:
Stop running to and from men and decide what you want for your fucking self.
As for Seki, at this point my dislike of Akemi is palpable and I wonder why he bothers with a brat. However, you can tell that his warrior days were probably brutal, but that he genuinely loves Akemi and wants her to not just survive, but thrive. I loved his passing lines at the end, so it's this.
I won't be your responsibility ever again.
Blame me if you must. Hate me. I was no better a mother than I was a warrior. I did enjoy the job more.
Throughout this episode, some of the artistry is absolutely sublime. The sweeping dynamic visual landscapes and the impossible, using traditional animation, top-down and rotoscope shots are sublime. You even have a particularly raunchy juxtaposition shot between a naked Mizu and Akemi taking her control and power back. Whilst this is my second least favourite episode, not including 8, it's a bit like saying one diamond isn't shiny enough, as all the episodes are superb. But for me, 7 ranks square 7th. And while still brilliant, you can just slightly feel how much better it would have been given a little more time to breathe. We are set, however, on the precipice of an epic battle for both hearts and control. And whilst this is all this videographer has time for today, I hope you'll hang around for episode 8, where we find out exactly how flammable wood and paper can be.